leaving. All right.
Oh, but a kiss. Okay. I was like,
Come on, come
I can
on,
see
come
how
on
you
with,
make
with
me.
the with the
You send
cursing,
me
please,
there.
please.
let me just I'll see you later when you get back. All right?
Listen, my booking is one day. You handle the
She's
kids.
not
You
just
handle your mother.
somebody.
This is some bullshit. I'm not rushing out of here, and you're not going to dictate. Look, I'm moving the pillow. Have a good trip, Yandy. All right? This is some stuff crazy.
All right.
They say blood is thicker than water. But what happens when love and loyalty collide? In one of the most shocking twists to ever rock their relationship, Mendeecees found himself caught in the middle of an explosive family war, one that could tear everything apart. It all started when his mother, Judy, made a decision that no one saw coming. She kicked Yandy out of their home. Furious, heartbroken, and blindsided, Yandy packed her bags and left, but not before the damage was already done. Now, Mendeecees is angrier than ever, not just at his mom, but at the situation that's forcing him to choose between the woman he loves and the woman who raised him. Lines are being crossed, secrets are being exposed, and loyalty is being tested like never before. And this time, there may be no coming back. The slam of the front door echoed like a gavel. Yandy stood in the foyer, suitcase by her side, eyes burning, knuckles white on the handle. She had heard a lot of things in this house, laughter arguments, apologies, but she had never heard anything as final as "you need to go." Not from a stranger, not from a hater, from Judy. For a long second, the whole house held its breath. Family photos stared down from the hallway walls, frozen smiles watching real-life fracture beneath them. Keys clinked in the bowl by the door. The scent of dinner still hung in the air. And somewhere behind her, Yandy could feel Judy's glare like a furnace at her back. Unforgiving, daring her to turn around and plead. She didn't. "Where's Mendeecees?" Yandy asked, voice steady, chin high. In his car, Judy shot back, arms crossed, thinking like he should have been doing a long time ago. 1,000 retorts clawed at Yandy's throat, but she swallowed them. Not here. Not with cameras in the kitchen and cousins peeking from the stairwell. Not with her heart already beating so loud it drowned out everything but the hum of the refrigerator and the clock ticking toward a new reality. The front door opened again. Mendeecees stepped in, phone in his hand, confusion in his eyes. He clocked the suitcase, then Yandy, then his mother. The air around him changed, went tight, electric, dangerous. "What's going on?" he asked, though he already knew. Judy folded her lips. "What's going on is I just did what you were too scared to do. I protected my son and my home." Yandy's laugh was small and raw. Protected him from what? From his wife. From disrespect, Judy fired back. From chaos. From a woman who thinks she can run this house and run over me while she's at it. Run over you. Yandy's voice cracked. Not with fear, but disbelief. "Judy, I've been running for this family since before you were ready to admit I was family." Mendeecees lifted a hand like he could separate lightning. "Ma Yand, just give me a minute to understand." "Understand?" Judy snorted. "You've understood enough. You let that woman come in here and decide who sits at your table, who has keys, what's best for our kids," Yandy cut in. "And I won't apologize for protecting them. Not today. Not ever." The room tilted. Everyone heard the shift, the word "our" becoming a line in the sand. Judy took a step forward. Yandy didn't move. Between them, Mendeecees exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for months. "All right," he said, voice low. "Everybody give us the room." No one argued. Doors closed. Footsteps retreated. Even the house seemed to lean back, giving them space to detonate. Judy spoke first. "You think I'm the enemy? I know you do. But I watched my son go through hell. And when he came back home, promised myself nothing and no one was going to take his peace again." Yandy's eyes shimmered. "Then why would you take mine?" "Because your peace came with conditions," Judy said. "With rules. With do it my way or else. My way." Yandy shook her head, incredulous. "My way was therapy. Boundaries, schedules that kept the children from bearing the weight of adult mess. That's not control. That's care. You tried to erase me, Judy said, voice softening just enough to betray the wound beneath the armor. You tried to make me a visitor in my grandson's life. Silence lapped at their ankles. Mendeecees finally spoke, choosing each word like it was glass. Ma, nobody is erasing you. And Yand, nobody is erasing us. But this, he gestured at the suitcase. This is not how we solve anything. Yandy's chest rose and fell. I didn't pack for dramatic effect, she said. I packed because she told me to leave. Mendeecees turned to his mother. You put my wife out? Judy's chin lifted. I put tension out. I put the whispering and the door slamming and the little notes on the fridge that felt like court orders out. You want a home or a courtroom? Choose. And you want a home with no rules? Yandy asked. No guardrails, no plan. That's not a home. Judy, that's a train track with no signals and 100 people waiting to cross. Mendeecees pressed his palms together, thumbs touching his lips. He'd spent years mediating the world's noise blog headlines, studio drama, family rumors. But this wasn't noise. This was the two pillars of his life setting each other on fire. Listen, he said, steady but shaking underneath. From now on, nothing changes unless we, me, and Yandy agree. Boundaries are not punishment. They're structure. And Ma, you know, structure saved me. It kept me focused when I could have fallen apart. Judy's eyes glistened. And who structured me? Who cared about what it costs a mother to be told when she can and can't hold her grandbaby? I am not a problem to be managed, Mendeecees. I'm your mother. The word mother sat heavy on the floor, older than the paint. Older than the pictures. Older than the marriage certificate in a safe upstairs. Yandy's voice gentled. Judy, I never wanted to replace you. I wanted to protect what we have. And sometimes, protection looks like saying not today to drama, even hours. Judy swallowed hard. And who says what's drama? You? Whoever is closest to the damage, Yandy replied. And lately, that's been the kids. Another silence. Another clock tick. Outside, a car door slammed and someone laughed in the street. Inside, nothing moved. All right, Mendeecees said finally, drawing a circle in the air like he could summon a new reality. Here's what's happening. Nobody's getting kicked out of my home again. Not my wife. Not my mother. If space is needed. I will make that call. Me. He looked at Yandy. You're not leaving. He looked at Judy, and you're not unwelcome for a heartbeat. It felt like the house exhaled a momentary truce. But truce isn't peace. Truce is the pause before the next truth. Judy set her jaw. Then here's my truth. If I can't live here as family, if I won't live here as furniture. She turned to Yandy. I will love those kids with everything in me. I will respect your marriage. But I will not live under your rule. If that's what it is, say that. And I'll pack my bags. Something fragile splintered in Yandy's face, surprise, sorrow, a flash of guilt. She stepped forward, then back. I don't want you gone, she said softly. I want you with us. But with us means we move together. And with me means I am not the enemy, Judy replied. Mendeecees nodded. It's the first small bridge landing between two cliffs. Nobody's the enemy. The enemy is old pain trying to run new days. We're not letting it. He reached for the suitcase handle and set it upright, a quiet ritual undoing what anger had done. This is staying, he told Yandy. You're staying. He turned to his mother. And tonight, we're all eating at this table. No cameras. No cousins listening from the stairs. Just us talking it out like people who mean it. Judy's eyes softened. But pride is a long road. Talking is fine, she said. But I don't eat ultimatums. Then we won't serve any, Yandy said. And for the first time, her voice didn't tremble. The three of them stood there. The triangle that made this house a family husband between mother and wife, love between history and hope. Outside, twilight pressed a purple palm against the windows. Inside, a new rule clicked into place. No one gets thrown away. But rules don't erase wounds. As Yandy wheeled the suitcase back down the hall, the pictures on the wall seemed to watch her pass with cautious approval. In the kitchen, the table waited like a stage. And upstairs, in a room that still smelled like aftershave and baby lotion. A nightlight glowed for the only people in this story who hadn't chosen sides. Judy lingered by the doorway, fingers tapping the jamb. 7 o'clock, she said, not looking at either of them. I'll bring the cornbread. Yandy nodded. I'll make the greens. Mendeecees let out a breath that felt like daylight. And I'll do the talking. He closed the door gently, like closing a wound without sealing it yet. The house wasn't healed. The hurt wasn't finished. But the door was no longer a weapon, for now. That was enough. The sun was barely dipping below the horizon when the three of them sat down at the dinner table. The same table that had witnessed birthdays, family meetings, and holiday laughter now felt like a courtroom. There were no cameras this time, no castmates, no audience, just the raw, unresolved tension between a son, his wife, and his mother. The silence was heavy, each of them waiting for the other to speak first. Finally, Yandy broke it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend everything's okay, she said, voice calm but tight. Being thrown out of my own home. That's something I'll never forget. Judy set down her fork, her expression unreadable. I didn't throw you out of your home, Yandy. I asked you to leave my son's house until things cool down. My son's house. Yandy repeated, her voice rising. This is our home. I've built a life here. I've raised our children here. I've sacrificed and worked to make this place a home. How dare you erase that? To make this place a home. How dare you erase that? Mendeecees' eyes shifted between the two women, his wife, who had been his rock through prison sentences, legal battles, and media scrutiny, and his mother, who had raised him from nothing, fought for his future, and never left his side. Ma, he said carefully, you can't say stuff like that. This isn't just my house, it's Yandy's too. We built this together. Judy's lips pressed into a thin line. And yet somehow, ever since she came into your life, I'm the outsider in my own family. That sentence hung in the air like smoke. Yandy blinked, stunned. Outsider, Judy, I've begged you to be involved. I've asked you to be part of decisions. I've invited you to appointments, holidays, everything. If you feel like an outsider, it's because you put yourself there. I feel like an outsider, Judy replied sharply, because you don't want anyone else to have a voice. It's your way or no way. Everything's a rule. Everything's a boundary. You treat me like a visitor, like a stranger. Yandy inhaled deeply, forcing herself to stay composed. Boundaries are not rejection, Judy. They're protection. For me, for the kids, for your son. It's because when there's chaos, we all suffer. Chaos, Judy repeated, insulted. Is that what you think I'd bring into this house? It's not about you being bad, Yandy said, choosing her words carefully. It's about how things change when lines get blurred. We can't have two people trying to run one home. Mendeecees finally spoke up. That's what this is really about, isn't it? Control. Everybody wants control. The room fell silent again, but this time it wasn't awkward. It was heavy with truth. He was right. At the heart of this war wasn't hate or jealousy, it was control. Judy wanted to feel like she still mattered, like her voice still carried weight in her son's life. Yandy wanted peace and stability, something she had fought tooth and nail to create. And Mendeecees, he just wanted his family not to fall apart. Let me be clear, Mendeecees said, his voice firm now. I love both of you. That's never going to change. But what has to change is how we treat each other. Because I won't keep living like this. Judy crossed her arms, and what does that mean exactly? It means, he continued, no more disrespect from either side. Ma, you can't make decisions that affect my wife without talking to me. Yandy, you can't shut my mom out because you don't like how she does things. We're going to move forward as a unit or not at all. But the battle lines weren't so easily erased. You don't understand, Judy said, her tone softening but her pain still raw. I know she's your wife and I respect that. But I was there before all of this. I changed your diapers. I kept you alive when we didn't have money for food. And now I feel like I'm being pushed out of the picture. Like the years I gave you don't matter. Mendeecees' eyes softened. Ma, they do matter. More than you know. But part of being a man, a husband, is building something new. And sometimes that means things change. It's not about erasing you. It's about evolving. Judy's eyes glossed over with tears she wouldn't let fall. And if I don't fit into that evolution, then we find a way to make you fit, he said, voice cracking. Because I can't and won't choose between you. Yandy reached across the table, her hand trembling slightly. Judy, I don't want to replace you. I want us to be family. But I need you to understand that I have a responsibility to protect our home emotionally, mentally, and physically. That's not me shutting you out. That's me making sure everyone in this house thrives. It was the most vulnerable thing she'd said all night. And for a brief moment, Judy's expression softened. There, beneath the frustration and resentment, was a woman who loved her son deeply and who, despite everything, wanted to love Yandy too. I hear you, Judy said quietly. But I need you to hear me too. I don't want to be a guest in my son's life. I want to be part of it, and you are, Yandy replied, tears forming now. But we have to build this together, not against each other. For the first time in months, something shifted. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was understanding. And sometimes that's the first step toward healing. As the night wore on, the conversation became less about the past and more about the future. They talked about setting boundaries together. They agreed to regular family meetings. Judy even suggested therapy, something Yandy thought she'd never hear from her. It wasn't perfect. It was messy, raw, and painful. But it was real. Before they left the table, Mendeecees stood up, looking at both women with tears in his eyes. I love you both, he said, voice thick, and I'm done choosing between you. The only choice I'm making is family. Days passed since that tense dinner, but the house still felt unsettled. The air was heavy, conversations were short, and every small interaction felt like it was walking on eggshells. On the surface, things seemed calmer. No one was screaming. No bags were being packed, but underneath, resentment still bubbled quietly, waiting for the next spark. Mendeecees knew the storm wasn't over, not even close. He watched from the kitchen window as Yandy played in the yard with the kids. Her laughter rang out, but it didn't reach her eyes. He could tell she was still hurt. Hurt by Judy's actions, hurt by the disrespect, hurt by the fact that the place that was supposed to be her safe space no longer felt like home. And Judy? She had been keeping her distance. She came and went quietly, no longer barging into conversations or offering unsolicited opinions. But her silence wasn't peace, it was pride. And pride, Mendeecees knew, was just another word for unfinished business. That unfinished business came to a head one afternoon when Judy unexpectedly showed up at the house while Yandy was out running errands. Can we talk? She asked, stepping into the living room with a hesitant look on her face. Mendeecees nodded. We need to. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Judy stared at the family photos lining the walls, pictures of birthdays, vacations, holidays. But there was one photo that made her stop. Yandy and the kids at the beach, smiling without her. Do you know how many of these I'm not in? She asked quietly. How many moments I wasn't part of? Ma, Mendeecees sighed, rubbing his temples. It's not like that, isn't it? She interrupted. Because I feel like ever since she came into your life, I've been pushed further and further out. And I'm not saying she's a bad person. She's a good woman. But there's a wall between us, and I don't know how to climb it. Mendeecees leaned forward. It's not a wall, Ma. It's a boundary. And the reason it's there isn't to keep you out. It's to keep the peace. And what about my peace? Judy shot back, her voice cracking. Do I not get any? It was the first time Mendeecees had seen his mother so vulnerable. And it broke him, Ma. He said softly, I need you to understand something. I love you. Nothing will ever change that. But Yandy, she's my wife. She's the woman I chose to build a life with. And when you kicked her out, you didn't just disrespect her. You disrespected me. Judy's eyes widened. I did that for you. No, he said firmly. You did that for you. because you didn't like how things were being done, because you felt like you were losing control. But this isn't about control. It's about family. He almost tore it apart. The silence that followed was heavy. Judy sat back, the weight of his words settling on her shoulders. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. I didn't want to lose you." "You're not losing me," he assured her. "But you have to accept that I'm not just your son anymore. I'm a husband. I'm a father. And those roles don't compete with each other. They have to work together. All of us do." The conversation was a turning point, but not the end. When Yandy returned later that evening, she was surprised to find Judy still there. The two locked eyes, and for a moment, it felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. But instead of leaving, Judy stood up and faced her. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. Yandy blinked. "What?" "I shouldn't have asked you to leave," Judy continued. "I was angry, and I acted out of emotion. I felt like I was losing my place, and instead of talking about it, I lashed out. That wasn't fair to you." For a long moment, Yandy said nothing. Then she nodded. "Thank you for saying that." "I'm not saying I agree with everything you do," Judy added quickly. "And I know we still have a lot to work through. But I don't want to be enemies. I want to be family." Yandy sighed, her voice softening. "I don't want that either. I've never wanted that. But Judy, when you told me to leave, it felt like you were choosing against me. Okay. And I need you to understand how much that hurt." "I do," Judy admitted. "Okay, and I'm sorry it wasn't a magical fix, but it was a start, and sometimes that's all a family needs." Over the next few weeks, things slowly began to shift. Okay. Judy started communicating more openly, asking for input instead of demanding it. Yandy made an effort to include her in more decisions, even small ones. Mendeecees, for his part, took on the role of peacemaker, constantly reminding both women that their bond was stronger than their battles. But not everything was smooth sailing. One evening, during a family gathering, a small disagreement over how to discipline one of the kids quickly escalated into another heated exchange. Voices were raised, old wounds reopened, and once again, Mendeecees found himself in the middle. "See?" Judy said, exasperated. "This is what I'm talking about. She acts like my opinion doesn't matter." "It's not that it doesn't matter," Yandy shot back. "It's that we make the decisions, not you." "And where does that leave me?" Judy demanded. "Right here," Mendeecees said firmly, "as part of the team. But if you can't accept that, we're never going to move forward." That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Yandy sat with Mendeecees on the couch. She was exhausted, not just from the argument, but from the constant battle of trying to prove herself. "Do you ever feel like we're never going to get there?" she asked quietly. "Like no matter how hard we try, there's always going to be tension." Mendeecees looked at her, then nodded slowly. "Yeah, sometimes I do. But I also know that love isn't about everything being perfect. It's about choosing each other even when it's hard." Yandy leaned her head against his shoulder. "I just want peace. And we're going to get there," he promised. "But we have to be patient. Change doesn't happen overnight." The uneasy peace that had started to form between Yandy and Judy was fragile, like glass. One wrong word, one small misstep, and it could all shatter again. And that's exactly what happened one Saturday afternoon when a small family disagreement spiraled into the most explosive confrontation yet. It started with something simple. Judy had stopped by the house with groceries and, without asking, began reorganizing the pantry, something she used to do all the time when Mendeecees lived there alone. But when Yandy walked in and saw her shifting things around without saying a word, the tension that had been simmering beneath the surface boiled over. "Judy," Yandy said, keeping her voice calm but firm, "I appreciate the help, but I wish you'd ask before going through things." Judy paused mid-motion, can of beans in her hand. "I was just trying to help. It's not that deep." "It is that deep," Yandy replied. "This is my home too, and there are boundaries. I wouldn't go to your house and start rearranging your kitchen." Judy set the can down slowly. You're always talking about boundaries. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. I've called You know what it feels like? It feels like you're putting up walls to keep me out. That's not what I'm doing, Yandy said, trying to stay composed. I'm asking for respect. That's all, respect. Judy scoffed. You want respect, but you don't show me any. You talk to me like I'm some guest in my own son's home. I do respect you, Yandy said, her tone tightening. But respect goes both ways. And when you kicked me out of this house, you showed me none. The room went silent. It was the first time either of them had directly referenced that day since their dinner talk. And the moment the words left Yandy's mouth, she could feel the weight of them hanging heavy in the air. Judy took a deep breath. I told you I was sorry for that, and I appreciate it, Yandy said. But forgiveness doesn't erase the hurt. Every time you do something like this, come in, take control, ignore how I feel, it reminds me of that moment all over again. Judy's lips trembled, but her pride wouldn't let her back down. I was just trying to help, she repeated. I wasn't trying to disrespect you. It's not about intent, Judy, Yandy said softly. It's about impact. And whether you meant to or not, your actions keep telling me that my presence here doesn't matter. Just then, Mendeecees walked in. He'd overheard the last part of the conversation, and his heart sank. He knew this wasn't just about beans or boundaries. This was about everything they'd been trying to avoid, the deep wounds that still hadn't healed. What's going on? He asked, his voice low but firm. Ask your wife, Judy snapped. Apparently, can't even put groceries away in this house without it being a federal crime. Don't twist it, Yandy said, frustration seeping into her tone. I asked for a little respect. That's all. Respect? Judy repeated, eyes narrowing. You're the one disrespecting me. You're the one who's been trying to erase me from this family since the day you walked in. That's not true. Yandy shouted, her composure finally slipping. All I've ever wanted was peace. But how can we have peace if you don't see me as part of this family? The argument grew louder, sharper, more painful with every word. Years of resentment spilled into the open. Every slight, every misunderstanding, every buried grudge came roaring back to life. You think you're the only one who sacrificed? Judy shouted. I raised that boy by myself. I worked 3 jobs to keep a roof over his head. And now you think you can come in here and tell me how to act? I never said you didn't sacrifice, Yandy fired back. But you can't use that as a weapon to control everything. You're not the only one who's given up things for this family. I've been here through court cases, through prison sentences, through the public humiliation, and I stayed. I stayed because I love him. Because this is my family too. Then why does it feel like you're trying to push me out? Judy yelled, tears forming in her eyes. Because you don't let me in. Yandy screamed back, her own voice breaking. You never gave me a chance to be your family. You made up your mind about me before you ever knew me. And then it happened, the moment that shifted everything. Mendeecees, who had been standing silently, trying to calm the storm, finally exploded. ENOUGH, he shouted, slamming his hand on the counter. The room went still. Do you hear yourselves? He continued, his voice trembling with emotion. You're both fighting for me like I'm a prize to be won. I'm not a prize. I'm a person, a man who loves both of you more than you know. And this is tearing me apart. He turned to Judy first. Ma, you're my heart. You're the reason I'm standing here. But you can't keep treating Yandy like she's an intruder in a life she helped build. She's my wife. She's the mother of my children. She's family. Then he turned to Yandy. And you can't keep bringing up the past every time things get hard. We'll never move forward if we keep living in what already happened. Both women stood frozen, the weight of his words hitting them harder than any argument ever could. Tears welled up in Yandy's eyes, and for the first time she looked at Judy, not with anger, but with empathy. Judy's shoulders slumped, the fight finally draining from her. I don't want to fight anymore, Judy whispered. Neither do I, Yandy replied. Wiping her eyes, Mendeecees took both their hands, his mother's in one, his wife's in the other, and squeezed them. Then let's stop fighting and start fixing. Because if we don't, we're going to lose something none of us can get back. Each other. That night, The three of them sat down again, not as adversaries, but as family, trying to rebuild. They talked about boundaries and respect, but also about love, pain, and forgiveness. Judy promised to try harder to listen and respect Yandy's space. Yandy promised to let go of the past and make more room for Judy in their family decisions. And for the first time in a long time, there was hope. The wounds weren't healed. The scars weren't gone. But the walls that had once separated them had started to crack. And through those cracks, light was finally breaking in. The house was quiet again, but this time it was a different kind of quiet. Not the cold silence of resentment, not the tense hush before another argument, but the stillness that comes when a family has finally said everything that needed to be said. Words had been shouted, tears had been shed, and hearts had been cracked wide open. What was left now was the slow, fragile work of putting those pieces back together. In the days that followed their explosive confrontation, something shifted in the Frost household. There were no more slammed doors, no more passive-aggressive comments, no more invisible walls dividing rooms. Instead, there was effort, small, deliberate steps toward healing. Judy started calling before she came over. Yandy started inviting her to help with the kids instead of assuming she'd overstep. And Mendeecees. He started checking in more, not just with words, but with presence. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't just trying to keep the peace. He was building it. One evening, a few weeks later, the family gathered for Sunday dinner. It was something they hadn't done in months. Not without tension, not without hidden anger simmering beneath the surface. But tonight felt different. The kids were laughing. Music played softly in the background. Judy was in the kitchen helping Yandy plate the food, and for once, the two of them were talking without a trace of bitterness. "I still don't like where you keep the spices," Judy teased, handing Yandy a bowl of collard greens. "And I still don't like when you try to reorganize my pantry." Yandy shot back with a smile. "But I think we'll survive." It was a small moment, but to Mendeecees, it meant everything. It was the kind of light-hearted exchange that had felt impossible not long ago. And as he watched them work side by side, he realized that all the pain, all the yelling, all the heartbreak it had all led them here, after dinner. As the kids ran off to play, Yandy and Judy found themselves alone on the porch. The evening air was cool, and the sky above them was painted in soft shades of purple and gold. For a long moment, they just sat there in silence, watching the sun dip below the horizon. Then Judy spoke. "You know," she said softly, "I was wrong about you." Yandy turned, surprised. "What do you mean?" "I thought you were trying to take my son away from me," Judy admitted. "I thought you were trying to erase me from his life. But now I see that all you ever wanted was to build a life with him. Not without me, but with me." Yandy's eyes softened. "I was never trying to take him away. I was trying to build something strong for all of us. But I didn't know how to do that without stepping on the past. The past is hard to let go of," Judy said, staring out into the fading light. "When you've been the center of someone's world for so long, it's hard to learn how to share that space. But I realize now that loving my son doesn't mean I have to compete with you. It means I need to stand beside you." Yandy reached over and took Judy's hand. "I want that too." Inside, Mendeecees watched them through the window. For the first time in months, he felt at peace. This, his mother and his wife, laughing together on the porch, was all he had ever wanted. Not one over the other. Not loyalty at the expense of love. Just family. Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, he sat with Yandy in the living room. The house was quiet again, but this time, it wasn't heavy. It was calm. "It was home, you know," he said, looking at her with a smile. "There was a time I didn't think we'd make it through this." Yandy chuckled softly. "Me neither. There were moments I thought we'd never be okay again. But we are," he said. "We're not perfect, but we're okay, and that's enough for me." "Me too," she whispered, resting her head on his shoulder. Weeks turned into months, and slowly the scars began to heal. The tension that once filled the house was replaced with laughter. Boundaries turned into mutual respect. And while disagreements still happened, as they do in every family, they no longer felt like the end of the world. One day, Yandy and Judy even launched a project together, a mentorship program for young women navigating motherhood and family conflict. It was something neither of them could have imagined when they were on opposite sides of the battlefield. But now, it felt right. "We were meant to fight," Judy said at the program's launch event, "because the fight showed us what we were fighting for." And as for Mendeecees, he learned one of the hardest, most important lessons of his life: that love isn't about choosing sides. It's about holding space for the people you love, even when they don't understand each other. It's about being the bridge when the gap feels too wide. And it's about believing that, no matter how broken things get, family is always worth fighting for. Standing on the porch one evening, watching his mom and his wife laughing together over a shared story, Mendeecees felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: gratitude. Gratitude for the struggle. Gratitude for the lessons. Gratitude for the messy, imperfect, beautiful family they had built. The journey wasn't easy. It was painful, complicated, and full of moments that felt impossible to come back from. But they did come back, stronger, closer, more united than ever before. Because at the end of the day, this story wasn't about a mother and a wife fighting for control. It was about love. Love that refused to give up, even when it hurt. Love that refused to walk away, even when it would have been easier. Love that chose forgiveness over pride. And that kind of love, it doesn't just survive, it thrives. And just like that, what once felt broken beyond repair became something stronger than it had ever been before. The battles, the tears, the harsh words, they weren't the end of this family's story. They were the fire that forged something new. Mendeecees, Yandy, and Judy learned the hardest lesson of all. Family isn't about perfection. It's about perseverance. It's about showing up even when it's messy. It's about choosing forgiveness over pride and love over ego. It's about admitting when you're wrong and learning to listen, even when every part of you wants to shout. Most importantly, it's about understanding that family isn't just who we're born with, it's who we fight for every single day. Judy discovered that letting go doesn't mean losing her son. It means gaining another daughter. Yandy realized that strength isn't about winning every argument, it's about creating a space where love can grow. And Mendeecees, he learned that being a man isn't about choosing sides, it's about holding his family together when it's trying to fall apart. Now it's your turn to reflect. Have you ever faced a situation where love and loyalty collided? Where choosing peace meant swallowing your pride? Tell us your story below, because chances are someone else needs to hear it. And if you believe in second chances, in healing broken bonds, in love that refuses to give up, then make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay tuned. Because in this family, the drama may pause, but the story, it's far from over.